for Farevela Net. What are you doing here, Knut?
Well, first of all, this is our brand new race control in the Volvo Ocean Race. It's actually something we also had in the past in England, but on a much smaller scale. And the race control used to be called the ops room from the old days of the Navy in the UK, which actually used to run the Whitbread. And it was a control center where you monitor the race more for safety purposes and safety reasons than anything else. And what we have realized over time is that our role as an event organizer is today to provide the content to the various websites and magazines and media. So today we have looked at where in the chain of communication do we play a role as an organizer, and we decided that for the future and for the next event, what we are going to focus on is to bring the content from the boats to you. And to do that more efficiently, we have focused a lot on the technology from the boats and actually to the various websites around the world that wants to cover the event. So we looked at other sports, we looked at other similar technologies, and what is unique with the race is that the public and the audience can't really see the race because it's happening out in the ocean.
Yeah.
So we need to bring the race to the audience. So the whole philosophy behind designing this race control is to get as close as you can to the race without getting wet. And we will still have what we call the race monitoring functions. So in the desks you see over here, and this desk here will be manned during the race by what we call the duty officers. And the duty officers are normally girls because they're more reliable than boys. And we have about 4 of them, and they work in day and night shifts, and they actually sit and watch the boat sailing every minute. They watch the weather and they watch all the information coming off the boats to see if something is happening with the boats, in case we need to do a rescue operation. And obviously the Volvo Ocean Race involves risk, so if there is any scenario happening, we are prepared here to manage that whole crisis management. So that is the traditional part of it, which we're still keeping. The new part of it, which is the philosophy behind this building, is on the media side. So this desk in front of all the big screens is going to be manned by Ricky Depp, who used to be a media crew member on Puma in the last race. And what we learned in the last race is that by having the media crew members on board the boats, we have much better access to good, high quality material and also the stories on board, but we need to work closer with them. So he can sit here during the race and talk directly to the media crew members on board the boats. We can see a story is evolving with a big storm arriving in the fleet. And then we can start to think, which boat do we want to talk to now? Which boat is closer to the storm? This other boat is just passing another one. What do they think? And we can, from here, direct, for example, live video conferences, which we can set up with all the websites in the world. We can direct radio or voice interviews or conferences with all the skippers together. And we can see here, each time a boat is sending a video clip. And then, by being really close to the media team behind the glass wall, they can connect it with each other. So we know now a story is happening on this and this boat, and we can bring the story out as quickly as possible. In addition to that, we have a desk here in behind for myself and for Jack Lloyd, the race director of the race. And that is in case we have a crisis scenario, in case we have something evolving we need to take control of. Let's say we have a big storm like we had last time between China and between Taiwan and the Philippines. It could be piracy, it could be a boat that has a problem, or a crew member that has a problem. And then from here on we can get all the information we need and actually coordinate an operation to make sure that we have a happy ending to such a story. As well, next summer we are going to open a museum. We will call it the Race Experience, which is going to open behind these walls, and this wall is also going to be glass, so the public can actually also watch what's happening in this room. And obviously also we wanted to build this room so it's an experience in itself, so we can bring media on board like yourself, come here and actually have first-hand information about what's happening in the race. And when the legs are not being sailed, we can also simulate the previous leg. We can look at the import race from here, and we can look how the boats are training right now. One of the screens we have now is actually monitoring the boats that are out training right now, so we can see if they're out sailing, as they're only allowed to sail a number of days this year. So we know that, and we control that from here.
Okay, perfect.
In addition, the weather is very essential in an ocean race. So here we have first-hand information from the weather providers we are using, so we can always monitor what is the weather scenarios. And we will also here route the boats like they're doing themselves in the navigation stations, using the same software to see where are they going to end up, time the finishes, so we have more accurate information about when they're going to finish each leg, and things like that.
Okay, I see that something is changing in the Media Man program too. I mean, there is something global coverage, global gestion of the man inside the media man inside on the boat, with Rick Deppe communicating every time, every moment. I think what is the best to do, what's the best to communicate.
Yeah, I think what we learned from the last race was that the media crew member was a big step forward for us, but we only sort of scratched in the surface of the potential. So to make the whole story coming off the boats better and quicker and more interesting stories, we need to have a two-way communication with the boats. Not only the boats sending us material, but we need to talk to them about what we have received, what we want to receive, and we can also look at, not only stories from one boat, but let's say there's 3 boats involved in the same story, and we need to talk to all 3 of them. So what do you think? These guys think this. What do you think?
Yes.
And do you have the same issues? And I think it's going to be exciting. And I think the motivation and the objective with this room is at least to give us the potential. So we have the tools now to do a much more interactive communication. And we know in the future, the audience, your audience in your website would like to talk to the sailors too.
Yeah.
And we can facilitate that through the technology we have here and also through the partnership with Inmarsat, where we have a high-speed broadband data link with all the boats directly from this room.
Wow. Okay, Knut, very nice. And what about the global team of your team?
Yeah, I mean,
Sophie said me that it is 90 people working here.
Eventually, we'll at one stage. We're not that many yet, thank God. But we are compared to the previous races, we are clearly having a bigger team at this stage than we had in the last race. We started preparations earlier. We know that on the media and the communication side, we need to think much more ahead, and we are today working on many more platforms. Online TV is today in some places bigger than normal TV. The social networks hardly existed when we started planning the previous race, and today they are very, very important. So a bigger team, we have focused a lot on creating an atmosphere where the story is happening, we have to be really close to it. So that's why all the communication is happening on this floor.
Okay.
And I think you will find that more of that work will happen here in the headquarters than actually on the road. Okay. Because this is where we get the information, and this is where the race is happening. But it's growing, and I'm excited. It's looking very, very interesting, I think, for the next event. We have a lot of interest in new markets, and the event works really well for the new media. There's no doubt about that.
Yeah, of course. We can see that it's 359 days, 1 year to go. So we have to expect something special.
Yeah, it's 1 year to go, and that's always special, because we know that at this time next year we would actually have the starting gun going off here in Alicante. For us, it's a reminder of the little time we have left to prepare. The teams are out sailing and training already, are building boats or getting into the modes of the race. For us, it means that right now we are launching a lot of new initiatives. We are, getting pretty much into the details of the stopovers. We have a big conference here in 2 weeks in Alicante with all the teams and all the ports in the race, where we are actually getting into the planning of how we're going to work together. And we are preparing the entertainment side from the race much broader than we did in the past. So we will bring much more for the public to the stopovers. So I think all the visitors that are coming to the stopover in the next race will have an absolute fantastic experience, because we're going to do a lot of things that has never been done in sailing, and we're going to bring the race really close to the public. So a lot of exciting things are happening.
Thanks. 1 year to go. Okay.
Yes.